This is the 316.5 episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the third week of September 2020. This episode is titled Anniversary in Apple. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by Arkus, us. And we are hiring. If you're a Salesforce consultant and want to be part of a unique and growing company, send your resume to careers@arkusinc.com or go to arkusinc.com/careers, and there's a lot to read there. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me second time this morning is co-host Justin Edelstein. Justin, how are you doing again?
I'm doing great. Quickie though, on the hiring. If you're interested, like Jason said, please send us an email at careers@arkusinc.com. But do us a favor. If you've already accepted another position, please don't, because honestly, that's annoying. I gotta be honest. We're trying to recruit here, and I'm trying to be real nice about it. But if you've just accepted another position, maybe don't send your resume to us and have us reach out to you and talk to you for you to just tell us that you just accepted another position. Keep it to yourself. You know what I mean?
Okay, I hear a little...
Listen, it's a waste of everyone's time, okay? If you've accepted another position recently, or yesterday, no reason to look for another job. Unless you're really unhappy after one day. In that case, let's talk.
All right. So we have a double agenda today. We have a lost episode, so 7 minutes of us bantering will forever be lost because of technical difficulties as we learn to go remote on our podcast here. So we got two things to talk about. We have, first and foremost, we'll talk about the Apple announcements in a second or two. First and foremost, Arkus, the parent company of Arkus Incorporated and Prestige Worldwide, celebrated its 10th anniversary on September 1st, 2020. And that's cool.
Do we just become best friends?
We just became best friends.
No power tools.
Did you touch my drum set?
I did not. I mean, I'm happy to go do karate with you in the garage, though.
So it's fun that we were in our first episode about this. We were bantering. So much better than this episode.
That was a way better episode.
So much better. You should listen to that episode if you can find it.
It's mostly me.
It's mostly cocaine.
Can I have some more cocaine wine, please?
Yeah. Oh no! Don't worry about it. It's mostly cocaine. So Arkus celebrated its 10th anniversary, and similarly, within 10 days, we also celebrated our 500th client. Super cool. Very proud of everybody at Arkus and all the work that's gone into it. The three of us starting this so many years ago. Well, I think a decade ago, and now celebrating. It feels both like a short period of time and also like a long time. And here we are, still here, still doing stuff. We did pick September 1st, because it's when we got our offices. So if you look at our blog posts and you look at the podcast and you see that there's blog posts and podcasts before this date, and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, just ignore that. We did pick a date. There are many, many dates. We have 5 dates of Arkus startings, maybe even 6 if you count org dates, app exchange listing dates, filing, with the government dates. So we just figured the more significant date was us getting an office and sort of getting an address at 1551 Broadway to start.
1501.
Is it 1501? Oh,
1501. Come on.
I would have lost that in the trivia contest. So we also rebranded a little bit in terms of our logo. So after 10 years, our logo, while we love it so, when you pay $149 for a logo, you get $149 worth of logo. And
hey, that is one of the best investments we've ever made. 10 years, $149. Pretty good.
Nice return. $14.99 a year. It's
good return on that.
It's really good.
Nice job.
So we actually kicked off the project last year in September, I think, to start the process of looking at the logo rebrand. And there's a whole thing up. I don't know if we actually did a blog post about it. If not, person who's listening to this, capture this. I'd like to do a why we did it and how we did it. But the basics were, there's kind of 2 types of logo rebrands. There's the massive shift, where you just, the whole thing changes completely. And then there's the small sort of evolutionary. And you and I are big fans of the terrible New York Fighting Jets, and they did one recently where they did Evolutionary, where if you look at the two logos side by side, you're like, oh, I see it. But if you just flash the logo, you might not see it. So that's kind of what we thought. It's like cleaning it up, making it easier. We did some font things. We did a little stuff, but we think it's
a little more modern.
Yeah,
it's a little more sleek. It's also, while we're talking about it, it's a little easier to get like printed on things, right? It's just a little bit cleaner with the cleaner lines and less colors and things like that. We do on our website. So if you do go to arkusinc.com, there is a new tab at the top called Celebrate.
Celebrate.
And you can go ahead and click on that Celebrate tab and check out all the fun stuff that we've put out there. We've really tried to capture what Arkus is all about and what we've been all about over the last 10 years. We've got some great quotes from some of our partners and some of our clients that are up there to talk about some of the things that we've done and highlight some of those things. So go ahead and head over to our website and check it out.
And if you go all the way to the bottom of that page, there is actually the two logos side by side, which is great because you can see what we're doing. I have already gotten the new logo. Looks like a tennis ball. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Nobody's made any comments to me about it.
Anyway, so that's the 10th anniversary. Awesome. Congrats to everybody. Again, everybody past and future, right? Everybody's worked at Arkus and still working at Arkus, and maybe who will work at Arkus. Careers at arkusinc.com. All right. In other really fun news this week was the second of the Apple virtual announcements. So obviously in our world of COVID, we don't do in-person announcements anymore. So Apple did its very slick, like produced announcement, which for some reason, I had a couple people, someone hit me up. Well, an intern that shall not be named hit me up the other day. It's like, oh, I didn't like it. It's the worst one ever. I'm like, that's what every Apple person says every single time. It's the worst one ever. But it's very slick. I mean, it was a very slick announcement, meaning just edited and, no people coming in and off a stage. And so it just feels very produced, I guess. But I thought it was nice. I thought the quality was great. I actually watched it on the Apple TV for the first time. I watched it on a big screen, and the quality was great. And I thought they do what they do well, which is to show you stuff. But this time, instead of having a screen and a person in front of it, they could cut to other stuff. I thought a little bit better. So anyway, we'll go from we'll just talk about some of the announcements. There's a lot that happened this week because they also released the whole new suite of software, which has a lot of stuff. But let's just talk the big stuff. We'll go from maybe least important down to most important. So from least important, the Apple, the iPad, and there's too many iPads now. I will tell you. I won't look at it.
There's a lot of choices there.
There's too many. There's really fun.
You can spend anywhere from $300 to $1,300 on an iPad.
You really can. And, anyway from the mini, but the main iPad, the one they call the iPad, the one I think everybody buys and puts in schools and stuff, that got an upgrade with a new chip. Okay, new chip, new this, new that. We took the whole thing. No more Johnny Ive, so we don't have his. I know.
So disappointing. They need to hire a Johnny Ive impersonator just to do Johnny Ive videos.
Well, see, funny, so we were thinking about doing another episode type in one of these weeks when we don't record about a certain company. And anyway, so I watched another presentation the other day and it was so Apple. You could just see they just copied Apple so much, but they didn't do it as well. And you could just tell they missed on some things. But when they spent about 5 minutes, this wasn't Apple, this was another company. When they spent 5 minutes discussing how the interior colors matched the different areas of California.
Yeah, that's Johnny Ive right there, baby.
It was so over the top. Anyway, all right. So then they announced the new
the iPad.
So that got
terrible.
Upgraded.
Let's do the new one.
The new iPad Air. So that's the smaller, sleeker. Although I looked at the iPad Pro to Air, trying to even figure out what the difference was, and it was super minor.
I own an Air.
Yeah.
The previous, not this, this one was just announced. The one they announced last year, because I generally buy an iPad every 2 years. They usually, for me, last about 2 years, and the air is very sufficient.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to use it as a laptop. I'm just trying to use it as a fun device to browse the internet and play with some apps and watch some TV on it occasionally. The air is totally awesome for that.
It is. I actually, I'm off. You're the one, and my iPad died 6 months ago. It's funny when your iPad dies and you don't go out and replace it immediately. You then just so get used to just not having it.
Totally agree. That happened to me, and I went without an iPad for maybe a year. And I said, I don't need that. And you were like, no, I love it. And I still love it. And I'm like,
So
all
now
right, well,
you
when the new
convinced
one,
me to buy one. So now you convince me.
now I'm
I
going to
convince
convince you. Exactly. So it is one of those things when you get a new one. First of all, it's a new toy, so you play with it, of course. And then you fall back in love with it. It's like, oh, this is like my computer that I don't want my computer in front of me. Like, I just don't want this MacBook Pro 16-inch thing in front of me. I just want to like browse the internet and set my fantasy league and like watch some streaming TV. It's great because it gets all the work stuff like completely off the slate if you'd like, and just lets you do what you want to do, which is have some fun on the internet.
So that looks, I mean, again, the chips they put in these things, I mean, again, they're so powerful. So that's cool. But really the big one, let's just go into I think the big announcement, the one that
Sure.
I'm the most excited about, which is really the Apple Series 6 watch series.
Apple Watch.
Series 6. Yeah. So they basically, it's one a year. I think I've owned every one except for 5. Last year I was about to buy the 5. And for the first time in a long time, I went, you know what? There's some features in there. There's like the always on display that came out last year. There's some little other, obviously a new chip in it, faster, whatever. But this year,
you've had 4 of them so far.
So I've had 4. I'm still wearing Series 4, and
I had Series 1 and Series 3.
Yeah,
I was always gonna skip a year, always on the watch. I'm not buying a stupid watch every year, and then with my hip surgery last year, I just decided to skip that one. But I think I'm going to get back onto the Series 6 here because it's got quite a few things that are interesting. So why don't you give us the rundown on like, wow, this thing came a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. Again, you can go look this up and whatever. There's colors and there's new bands and all. We can all get excited about that.
You get the product red version, which makes me happy.
Yes, when I saw them announce the product red, I'm like, that's it. Justin will buy the product red version, and there will be no other. But really where the doubling down is on fitness and health and obviously in this world of COVID, I've had a couple friends, actually that intern that shall not be named, went out and bought a oxygen monitor. Because looking at your blood oxygen is a way to look at your fitness and measure it and to know it over time and to be able to cut things off at the pass. So years ago they announced heart rate. Obviously, we've had heart rate forever. I think 2 years ago they announced EKG, which monitors erratic heart rate monitoring. So if something happens, and legitimately people's lives have changed. Obviously, you've got all the health features, which are fun, the stand goals and the things and the competition. That's great. But adding in blood oxygen monitoring, which is now going to be built into the watch, it uses a series of lights and it takes 15 seconds. It goes it shoots down into your skin, measures the colors coming back, and then tells you what percentage of blood oxygen you have. Again, it's a massive thing. And in COVID is actually... it's an indicator of COVID health too, or whether you have COVID, if your blood oxygen starts to drop. So that's going to be in there. So it's, again, you can go read up all the stuff on it, but I'm really fascinated. So that's the piece that's going to get me. Obviously I get the always on, which I haven't had. So it's where it just, it always stays on. But I'm just fascinated by how this device has went from something that literally tells time to now, and I don't want to, overblow it, but like something that saves lives, right? That is so much a health thing, and they have so much built in that can measure your health and keep you both doing things, being active, and also measuring the output of your body, right? Everything from your heart, which is extremely important. I think the number one killer in America is not COVID, it's heart disease. And this is just another additive to it. So I'm fascinated by it, and I'm excited to like add it to my regiment of things I monitor. I love that it all syncs up to one app, your health app, and then you can I mean, I've gone to my doctor and I said, here, look at my, here's my weight over time. I do EKG, and I do, what's the other one? Oh, blood pressure. So blood pressure they haven't figured out yet, but these are ways to see if your heart, is okay. I'm just fascinated by it. So I'm super excited about that from a hardware standpoint.
I'm excited. I'm going to get it back. And, like I said, I'm just sort of finishing up physical therapy here. So it's been a long road of getting back to fitness for me and activity. So for a while, I have not been wearing the watch because it was actually a little depressing.
I'm surprised you didn't keep it on just, I mean, yeah, it goes down and says, hey, do you hit your goal, blah, blah, blah. But it also lowers your goal automatically.
Yeah, it lowers it to like this super low thing that even still, like, I wasn't hitting because I'm not able to really move. It's just like standing and walking. So it was just depressing to see. And I just didn't want to get alerted and like stand and fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, here's your 2,000 steps today. Thanks. So regardless, I took it off and have not put it back on because I do use it primarily as what you're talking about, like an activity tracker / health device. And what time is it? And I've kind of replaced it with an Aura ring to do the sleep tracking, which is coming to the watch, which you didn't even mention.
Well, because it's software, because I was going to wait till software. That's not a hardware thing. That's a software thing.
I didn't know there was a whole new section to this of software, but okay, yes. Fine. Whatever. That's what I use this ring for. And it also does a handful of those vitals along with it. So I'm interested to see if, I don't know, maybe they can like talk to each other. The ring does talk to Apple Health, so it does feed that data into Apple Health. I wonder if two things are trying to feed in the same one thing, like which one wins. We'll see. Will I keep wearing this ring? Don't know. We will see what happens.
Yeah, you had me interested in the ring for the sleep tracking. You and I have tried sleep tracking.
Oh my gosh, we've tried this for 4 or 5 years, sleep tracking.
From a health standpoint, and I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV, but from the years of paying attention to this and monitoring things, sleep is extremely important. And I think people underestimate how important your sleep is to your overall health, to your fitness level, to your heart, to your brain activity, to your productivity, like everything. So we've had devices, we did a Kickstarter, we did, we had that one with the orb thing that was next to you with the pills and all that. And I've been waiting.
Oh, chill out. Pills meaning things you connect to, not things you take, things that you connect to a pillowcase.
Yeah. And that was great. I remember that used to measure both my activity, but it was on your pillowcase. And so like
that was weird.
2 pillows didn't work. So this is now on.
It also did air quality and noise, things like that.
So air quality would be something that it would be nice to know. Again, that is something that other devices in my house all feed into, like HomeKit, like, so I can see air quality and temperature of my room, but it will be really interesting. So it's coming out in the new OS, which is out today for the watch. And the way it works is it works with the bedtime app. So it basically says, hey, it's time for you to go to bed. Here's your watch at this percentage. So it's either going to say, look, you're not going to make it through the night, right? Or so you better charge it up. And I would say that's the new Apple Watch Series 6, I think can charge like within an hour, it can charge the whole thing. So it's really fast charging. But the idea is it'll tell you, look, you've got 2% left in your battery. You got to charge it up to 30 before you go to bed. And then when you wake up, it does the same thing. You've got 5% left or whatever. But it obviously goes into sleep mode. The light doesn't come on. If you've ever worn your watch overnight, every time you turn over, it's like, oh, light in my face. So it does that. It obviously keeps notifications off. And then also does alarms, waking up alarms. All right. A couple other things. Again, so many announcements. I think 3 that let's just hit on that I think are interesting. But one that we're both, Apple One, which is a bundling now. So they're bundling music, TV.
Are they going to make this easy? Honestly, because I feel like I pay Apple like for 6 different things all the time. And I know I'm double paying them for something.
Yes.
Like, are they going to actually make this easy so that I can just really simply pull it all together?
but there's 3 different plans, and one of them includes everything they do, and with family, and you will save money. I already looked, and I would save money on it. And then you're going to get, which is why this is bundling, because I now have another service on top of it, right? So we have TV, we have arcade, we have news, which I gave up, but now that'll be included. And I would, it's one of the things I don't actually want to pay for, but if you include it in something else, okay, I'll use news. But Fitness Plus. So here's the shot across the bow to everybody doing remote fitness, whatever. It syncs up with your watch. So your watch and your heart rate and all that's now on your screens. So it could be your Apple TV, it could be your iPad, and they're going to do original content, not live, but original content weekly. So there'll be new stuff every week in like 10 different fitness categories. I think there's dance, there's spin, there's aerobics, there's strength, there's meditation, there's stretching, yoga, for $9.99 a month across your entire family, which is, again, that's sort of slamming others. And then device and agnostic, right? So they're not saying you need to have a $3,000 or $2,000 bike. You don't need to have a mirror. You've seen the mirror device. It's like, look, use the devices you already have. You have an Apple TV with a computer. You have a computer. You have a iPad you can put in front of you. You can go anywhere with it. So, and I know you use Peloton and use Peloton service and have done tons of this stuff with just like your iPad in front of you, like done yoga, done stretching, whatever. So I'd actually like to hear your thoughts on what.
I haven't seen this announcement. So we're talking about it. I haven't seen it. Yeah, I know. I'm terrible prepare. So I don't know what's coming in Apple Fitness Plus. I'll save this. I've been a big Peloton user for a handful of years now. It's going to take Apple a really long time to catch up to what Peloton has done, because it's more than just content. It's a community. You get to know the instructors really kind of well. You get to know like what you're into and what you're not into. There's a whole social component that Apple has never gotten right.
That's right.
Ever. Like they've tried for years and they failed on every attempt at being social.
Hold on. Wait. Let me just counterpoint to that.
Ping. Go on.
No. I still, with our trainer / friend,
you have your competitions going in Apple. That's cool. So Apple Fitness competition. That's their okay, fine. 4% adoption on that social thing. Perfect. Awesome. Again, I think they have a long way to go in figuring this out. You've got a company in Peloton that's somewhat mature, that's been around for a while. You've got Nordic Track that's getting into this, that's been around and is like pretty mature. And I do think that the hardware connection for certain things is very valuable. Like if you want to take a spin class, you want to be on a Peloton bike or the SoulCycle version of it. You don't want just a random spin bike with an Apple Fitness Plus instructor just telling you what to do. It's my opinion. I haven't tried it. I just know how immersive the experience is on Peloton and how into it, and you just feel like you're like in the room with the person and the numbers are dialed in and everything is all like there for you. And it integrates with the watch and it integrates with like all the other stuff. So, and they have an Apple TV app. The price point's the thing, I guess. Peloton being a little bit more expensive and also not being hardware dependent though. Like you can use a Peloton app wherever, and it's $20 a month, not $10 a month. So that's the big, I guess, differentiator is it's $10 more. But I think for now, Peloton's pumping out a bunch more content like every day on all sorts of different stretching, yoga, fitness, boot camps, mixing them together now with the new Bike Plus. You can mix a spin class plus a boot camp because the screen will spin and you can do all sorts of weird, funky stuff. So I think that there's still an advantage to having the hardware and the software together, just like Apple would probably say, hardware plus software, we win.
Right, but their hardware is on your wrist, and I think that's where,
But I'm on a bike,
right? But to get away from a $2,000 bike to a $300 watch, which already
where's your bike?
Millions and millions.
Where's your bike? Where's your bike? If you want to exercise on a bike, where's your bike?
But it's behind me. You can see it.
But you need a spin bike if you want to actually spin.
Not true, first of all. But again, I don't think they're going to take away Peloton users. No, Peloton users they're psychotic. I mean, and I've been a Peloton user. I like Peloton, but I've never been the 4 or 5 times a week, going insane. I use it for training for triathlons. But so to me, that's like, oh, that's a nice slice. But the other stuff, like, oh, you're going to throw in a yoga class, you're going to throw in a strength class, you're going to throw in a meditation class, you're going to throw in a stretching class. And I know that's all that Peloton does, but that's like their main thing is the bike, right? Is the bike classes.
Their main thing their main thing is fitness. They have hardware like a treadmill and a bike that facilitate that indoor gym experience for an individual, a person in their home. If you're in your home and you want to go for a run indoors, you need a treadmill. Okay, yeah. You can't just run in place. That's stupid.
But you don't need a Peloton treadmill.
No, you don't need a Peloton treadmill. I agree, but the experience is better if you are using a Peloton treadmill and the Peloton app.
So some other things. Let me just do some other things. I think
we got to wrap this up. So let's. All right. You could add some more stuff. Go ahead.
Well, let's keep going the fitness thing. Then because look at we kind of covered the main stuff. Just some of the stuff that I think they're kind of interesting. Bundling Apple Music into it, meaning all the playlists, all the stuff comes from Apple Music. You can hit them, put them on your phone for later. Oh, I love that playlist.
That's all built into Peloton too.
You can get into Apple Music from Peloton?
And Spotify, either one, your choice.
Okay. All right,
I mean, I'm trying to refute this because I know the Peloton app and how good it is, and you can totally do all this stuff with Peloton. Right. And Apple's going to come in and they'll pick a part of the market and snag it, the easy stuff. But I think more hardcore people are going to.
Hardcore people
go the other way.
Peloton. Hardcore people never leave Peloton, but that's never Apple's market, right? Apple market is I'd rather sell
entry level. Let's get people into
500 million people than a million people, right? Which is that's what they want to do. So, all right, cool. The only other thing there's a new Mac OS coming out now. Today is out. A new iPad OS, which has tons of new features. The new iPhone OS comes out today. Tons and tons of stuff. I mean, it is that's why this week is massive. Interesting stuff. So we were going to make picks, but let's not.
By the way, would this have been WWDC week?
No, they did WWDC back in June. They did a virtual version of it. Yeah. This is just their announcements. And
this is the back to school thing that they normally do with a new phone usually.
But they didn't do a new phone. And so what they're doing is breaking it up. They're letting iPad and Watch have their own moment in the sun, and then they'll do the phone probably next month, right? So they'll announce it.
The one thing I did see and I thought was super interesting, I'll just go back to the hardware I think it was on the iPad Air. It had the second generation of Touch ID.
Yes.
Which basically the Air doesn't have a button. So the Air is like a big iPhone without a button. And it doesn't have Face ID either, though. It has this, you put your finger, I guess, in a particular corner or a spot.
No, it's on the button. So it's a button on the side. So it's a side button. That one button. Okay,
side got button, right? Got it. So that's interesting. I wonder if that was a conscious decision to be Face ID doesn't work when you're wearing a mask. Kind of stinks.
Yeah.
You're out there, you're trying to use Apple Pay on a thing and you got a mask on, it just doesn't work.
So this is an iPhone 11.
Yeah.
That's a side button on an iPhone 11. You can imagine that side button would then include Touch ID.
Yeah, that would be good to give an option.
If there's anything that's coming out, I mean, maybe this isn't big enough, but I could see it because look where it sits on my finger. It's literally right here. What you want to do is pick up your phone as you pick it up. And this is what I always loved about Touch ID that I don't like about Face ID is I wanted to be able to, in my pocket, pick up my phone, and I could, by the time I got it to my face or out of my pocket, it was already turned on. I didn't have to look at it. It would just, because it's felt my finger, I could put my thumb on it and be oh, and it's up. So if they could do that and put it here on this little thing, I mean, maybe it's too small.
For all you listening, this is riveting.
Well, so hey, we've talked about publishing this video. Maybe we will. Anyway, all right, let's get out of here. We're not going to do picks because actually I have too many picks. I'm going to put in another one. I mean, this one, I don't know if you picked this, you probably have.
I definitely have.
And so we can talk about that one.
You know what? I could talk about, we could do a whole thing on that for sure.
So we'll come back and do that. This was a quick episode. We actually lost our time because we lost an episode. So we'll be back a couple weeks or whatever, maybe never. We do promise we're going to try to get a fall edition of the summer series, the summer GTD series in the fall. We blame COVID, so don't blame us, just blame COVID. And until then, it's Justin and Jason saying enjoy those cloudy days.